Wow, is this a full moon just after the solstice? It's square Neptune, it's square black moon Lilith. It's a grand trine with Neptune, the mystic, right? Also delusion, illusion, also cloud of unknowing, deep mystical transformation via dissolving. Square to the moon, which is in Capricorn, not exactly the moon's happiest place being in Capricorn, but that makes it like reality, right? Like, so reality being touched by the cloud of unknowing, Neptune. The sun has just moved into Cancer. Deep, intuitive, emotional body, totally activated. Yeah, home, safety, security, all up in the mix. Squaring, right? So this moon is squaring. Neptune is opposing. Moon, sun squaring. Grand trine, right? Black moon Lilith, the conglomerate of the dark goddesses, who's conjunct Shiva, which makes this even more, let's say balanced, but more potent. More potent. Black moon. What is black moon Lilith? This is huge. This is potentially one of the turning point moons of the year. I mean, solstice alone makes things a turning point. Add in this full moon, which is in this grand trine. I mean, Neptune's on the anorectic degree of Pisces. That's like a point that represents our capacity to touch into creation energy. Like very, very high voltage source creation creator energy. Neptune is going retrograde days after this full moon, so it's already more potent, being opposite, opposing black moon Lilith, who's conjunct Shiva, right? Basically an archetypal energy, Shiva, divine masculine, archetypal energy that can hold the fullness of the dark goddess, the fullness, the wildness of the feminine, right? There are not very many archetypal energies that can hold, that even dare go near holding the fullness of the chaotic, ferocious, wild, liberated feminine, which is what Black Moon Lilith represents. So she's just like, and I have the amount of consciousness I need to dance wildly and freely wherever I want to. That's like Kali, Lilith. So how I like to think about Black Moon Lilith, that point astrologically. I don't see that. I don't watch that. I don't observe that when I work experientially with archetypal energies, not just in myself, but in lots and lots of other people. I have never seen that point as just being Lilith. You can access Lilith from that point, Black Moon Lilith, but it's the conglomerate of the dark goddesses. So it's Black Madonna, it's Kali, it's Durga, it's Medusa, it's Lilith. So it's all of them are accessible in that point, right? So to have them being held with the amount of consciousness that they need to fully express the feminine, and let's just say the full expression of the feminine is every weather pattern happening simultaneously, right? Tsunami, torrential rainstorm, bright sunny sky, tornado, all happening simultaneously, right? Opposing the point of creation, which is literally creating something out of chaos, opposing the point Neptune, right? On this creation point. This is what those of us who are sensitive, I would say, I don't know what other words, plugged in, open, more awake, maybe more conscious, more, I like the word sensitive, but it can mean many things, many things. This can really be rocking some of us. And I just kind of want to honor that and speak to that. We're going to dive into this. I'm going to give us everything I can in this conversation because I really feel like this could be a moment in time where it's pivotal. It's very pivotal, but could be challenging. And so hopefully this conversation, if nothing else, could give you some tools on how to like support yourself through this. But I want to go a little further than that, than just tools on how to support yourself. I want to give us ways that, we can actually like gain something from this. We can maybe make sense of our lives a little bit. We can walk through the doors that are open. So even if it's challenging astrology, which it is, there are doors that are open. There are possibilities and opportunities and potentials that are alive right now. And so I want to point to those, and I want to give us ways to work with those. To align us. So just after this full moon, the solstice, I'm just going to talk in terms of like US because that's where I live. So solstice on Thursday, full moon on Friday, Saturday, Mercury is square the nodes of fate. So this is all about our highest path forward. So you can think of this as like this evolutionary moment in time where it's a pivotal moment, choice points, all of these personal planets, not all of the personal planets, but Mercury, Venus, the sun, that's personal. That's real personal. They have moved out of Gemini. The sun doesn't move out of Gemini until the solstice into Cancer, right? And that like final transition point, right? That's like choice points. That's choice points. And it's okay that you haven't made choices. So I also just really want to honor that. It's almost like the energy could be showing up for you with all of this Neptune. I mean, Neptune has squared Venus, has squared Mercury, is squaring the sun, is square the sun and this full moon, right? It's really intense, and being at 29 degrees and about to go retrograde, so loud. And I want to talk about how to work with Neptune, the gifts of Neptune. What is Neptune? I mean, he's the mystic. That's glorious. He's higher heart. He's like unconditional love. He's also like shamanic visioning in the world. He's opens up the capacity to walk in both worlds simultaneously. He makes the veils really, really thin between the seen and the unseen, but can be really disorienting, can be really ungrounding, can cause confusion or not knowing how to make a decision, or this like pivotal choice point moment. And I think what I want to say around that before we get too far into this is it's okay if you feel like you're sitting at a crossroads. It's okay if you feel like you're sitting with decisions to be made and you don't know which direction to go. My advice, and you got to feel if this is true for you, of course, always, but is it's okay to sit in the not knowing. It's okay to give ourselves a little bit of time to let more and more dissolve, because that's kind of what's happening with all of this Neptune energy. Is there's more old thought patternings dissolving. There's more old belief systems dissolving. There's more who we thought we were dissolving. So it's like dissolving, so that we can really step into who we're becoming. That's kind of that like pivotal moment I'm talking about. This pivotal moment, you're becoming something. Think of yourself as like my greatest becoming. And I'm in a process of dissolving into nothing. That's Neptune, dissolving into the void. I'm in a process of, you could think of, this is such a lame analogy, but it works. The caterpillar dissolving into like goo before becoming the butterfly, right? And so we're in the cocoon. Some of us are really trying to push forward and find our wings. We're like, where's my wings? And if there's anything that I can share is to really let that be a really organic process, really deeply aligned process of allowing, not pushing, like allowing, like surrendering into, letting there be like divine timing as to when we have the clarity to make the decisions, when we have the clarity to take steps forward, to take action. And so if there's anything that I can share as like a tool that might support you in this moment in time, it's that it's okay to be dissolving. It's okay to sit in the cocoon and let the transformation take place. It is a time of deep transformation. Neptune is a transformer. We don't talk about that a lot. I don't feel, anyways, that we give Neptune the credit for the type of transformation he brings. He brings a transformation through the dissolving. It's, I loved this. I talked about this in a little video. You can scroll back to find it. It's like the astrology for the week ahead video. And I talked about this practice, the cloud of unknowing. And that's kind of Neptune, is the cloud of unknowing. You let the cloud of unknowing like descend upon you and literally like loosens like neurological pathways. That's part of how he transforms us. It's like the loosening, right? The loosening of the karmic knots, the dissolving, right? Of, you know how like you have a really ingrained response pattern. This is just our nervous system. This is how the nervous system works for all of us. We have really ingrained auto response patterns. They're unconscious. Neptune comes in right to those like, hey, I'm 44 years old. I have like 44-year-old patterns, response patterns. I have 40-year-old response patterns. I have 30, and they're deep grooves, right? Deep grooves in the nervous system. This trigger happens in the environment. Bang, this is how I respond to it. And I'm not even conscious of it. Neptune comes into those deep grooves, no matter how old, deep grooves, and literally like dissolves the deep grooves. But when that's happening, it can feel really disconcerting. It can feel really confusing. It can feel really uncomfortable. So this might be a week where you're feeling uncomfortable. And like the type of transformation where, you know, it's like a lot of times we say like transformation by fire or awakening by like Kundalini lightning bolt, you know, transformative energy. Or we expect it to look different. Instead, it's more this like mystical dissolving into nothingness, and all the parts are just scattered across the universe. And then like we kind of got to sit there for a little while. That's just how Neptune works. And then the pieces, when divine timing and ready for it to happen, the pieces then, some will never come back. Some are just gone. They're alchemized, they're gone, they've gone elsewhere. But the pieces will come back and form something new. That's how Neptune works. And that's the transformation we're going through. Not only that, get this, I love this. We know Pluto is deep transformation. We know that he's death and rebirth. And that's almost like a transformation that we're comfortable with, right? Like there's a death, there's a release, there's a letting go for something new to be born. We're almost like more used to that type of transformation, right? He's in the mix too. To me, this makes this Neptune transformation deeper, go into the unconscious even more into the unseen. Pluto's Lord of the underworld, Lord of your underworld, Lord of my underworld, Lord of the unconscious, the parts of self that are hidden, the shadow territory, right? And so Neptune's like, yeah, cool, I'm gonna work your Venus, that's personal part of self, right? That's your heart. That's like, this is Neptune is literally just, and still is, working your feminine aspect, all the anything you associate with Venus, goddess of love, goddess of beauty, relationships, matters of the heart, creativity, feminine flow, right? Radiance, all those things has just done like the dissolving of that. Then Venus, after squaring Neptune, quincunxes Pluto. So it's literally like she gets dissolved by Neptune, and then she goes to meet the Lord of the underworld, and it's like, and let's just go a little bit deeper with the dissolving into parts that you don't even know about, and we're gonna change and shift all of those. And Pluto's very evolutionary, right? So Pluto's totally linked to your highest path forward, your soul's, what you will evolve, what you came here to do, to experience, right? And Pluto's evolutionary. So he's like, and we're gonna go a little bit further with this. So now that process, right, where it's Neptune dissolving, Pluto going deeper in the transformation process, went from Venus, feminine, to Mercury. So Venus happened over the weekend, like I don't know the exact dates, whatever. We could say like 15th, 16th, I think. Mercury happened on Monday, which I believe was the 17th. Sorry, I don't have like dates in front of me right now. Mercury happens on the 17th, but this is all still going on, right? All still going on. And then just after that, Mercury goes into the quincunx with Pluto, right? So Venus went first, feminine, then the mind, the place that most of us spend the most amount of time in. We live in a world where we're very dependent on the mental body, the mental realms, the mind. And so the mind going into Neptune dissolving, into Pluto deepening the transformation and the dissolution, the dissolving. Yeah, right? Isn't this great? It's stunning. It's glorious. Now, the sun will go. So the sun will then do this right around solstice, right? So as the sun is moving into Cancer, because Neptune's at 29 degrees, right? The solstice. But here's the other great part. You ready for it? Not only does it go Neptune dissolving, first Venus, the feminine aspect of self, then the mental body of self, then conscious self. That's the sun. The sun is the part of self that we are conscious of, right? We could say ego, but then we start to judge that. But like the part of Sabrina that I like identify with literally gets dissolved. Yeah, that's coming. That's coming. I think that happens on Thursday, just before the solstice, because 29 degrees Pisces is where Neptune is at. As the sun moves into Cancer, it has to move through 29 degrees, get to 0 degrees of Cancer, right? That's the solstice. So this is happening. I mean, of course, it depends on where you're at, but we'll just say Thursday, just based on time zones here where I'm at the moment. And so now the conscious part of self does that same journey of dissolving into nothingness, who we identify ourselves with, into, wait, let's go deeper. Pluto going like, no, you're on an evolutionary path. Like, let's really go for it. Let's go deeper into the unconscious, into the shadow territory, into the parts of you that you don't identify with, that you don't even know about. So just that this week. Now here's the other part. Remember, I talked about Black Moon, right? The conglomerate of the dark goddesses. They're also squaring her. Because if they're squaring Neptune, which is, you'll hear about that talked about in many places, they're also, each one of them has to square the Black Moon, has to square the conglomerate of the dark goddesses. So it has to also show up at the door of the dark goddesses. What are the dark goddesses about? They are about reclaiming lost parts of self. They are about reclaiming power, lost parts of what it is that empowers you, the parts of you that you've repressed, you've denied. And being that they're the feminine aspect of it, you can think about the parts of your feminine. This is not woman specific. I'll talk about what this is in a minute. The parts of the feminine that we've repressed, denied, oppressed, suppressed, judged, demonized. Basically, the dark goddess represents all the aspects of life. Life is the feminine of life that we've demonized. All of the aspects of our nature, our life nature, our life force, our feminine nature that we've demonized, that we've judged, that has gone underground. Isn't that great? So, not only are we dissolving into nothingness, we're also being shown, okay, here's parts of you that are part of your ultimate empowerment, part of your ultimate joy, your ultimate radiance, your ultimate expression of self. Here's parts of you that the world told you to switch off. Here's parts of you that your family told you to switch off. Here's parts of you that you switched off to stay safe as a little one. For example, I'm an extremely emotional human being, right? It took me decades to tap into emotional intelligence in myself because that was a part of myself that was demonized when I was a kid, right? We could say that emotions are an aspect of feminine nature. We could say intuition. We could say, we could just feel into what that means for you. I don't want to put words on this. I want this to be really open to you. What is feminine for you? Feel into that. What is feminine for you? I'll give you some words to feel into. This is a really, really powerful practice around this solstice and this new moon. Really, really powerful. So to feel into things like feminine flow, feminine intuition, feminine sixth sense, mother, feel into sister, feel into, you can feel into different archetypal energies. You can feel into the witch. You can feel into feminine sexuality. You could feel into, oftentimes the feminine is related to form, like the body, our sexual, sensual nature, feminine radiance, feminine life force. You can feel into things like Mother Earth. You could feel into, I know I talked about emotional intelligence. You can feel into all of these types of things. And you feel for you, right? There's so many more things to feel into around that. But I've been coming up really strongly also with everything moving into Cancer, right? So Venus, Mercury, Sun, all moving into Cancer. Cancer is a feminine sign. Cancer is the sign of the mother. That just got louder. The feminine just got louder in this full moon, louder, because it's a feminine sign. So what is the sign of Cancer? So let's talk about this. We're just moving into Cancer season. Cancer season, it's the mother. It's the mother. Cancer's the crab, right? It's also very protective. You can think of like mama bear, but the crab is the shell, the protective shell. Inside of that protective shell, right, is very soft and sensitive, intuitive, emotional nature. You can feel into energy like the moon, right? The moon is Cancer sign. So feeling into that, that's where everything has just moved. While squaring Neptune in this deep transformation, while squaring Black Moon, the conglomerate of the dark goddesses, while quincunxing Pluto. This is so powerful. It is like underground transformation, though. The feminine often works in very underground, unseen, hidden ways. She's not like the force that's right up in front of you, right? It's like the sun and the moon, right? The moon's a reflection of the sun. The moon absorbs and reflects the light of the sun. That's how the feminine works. So that's how this transformation can be working for us, is that it's not right in our faces. It's maybe not necessarily showing up very obviously in the physical world, although it can, because the moon's now in Capricorn. So it can be starting to, my sense, this is my sense, it will be different for all of us, of course, is that it will start to show up in the physical post this full moon. So post this full moon happening on the 21st, it will start because Neptune's still keeping it so dissolved. Neptune is keeping it so dissolved, right? It's going to be interesting, though, because Neptune is about to go retrograde, which makes it more potent, more powerful. So I don't know when we're going to see this coming into reality. And it, again, will be different for all of us. Some of us are much more reality-based. Depends on, how much you have in Capricorn, how much Saturnian energy, like how much earthy energy versus all kinds of different things. And also just where we are in our lives and where our focus is at. So it's not just astrologically based. It's where's your focus at? Are you focusing on the mystical realms? Are you focusing on the unseen realms? Are you focusing on your inner world? Or is more of your focus on your outer world? Is more of your focus on the physical, tangible world right now for you? That's a really powerful question to ask yourself, is to sit deep, wise, intuitive self and ask the question, am I more called to be in my inner world right now, or am I more called to be in my outer world right now? And really only you will know. It will be different for all of us. Some of us, we will also be called to be walking one foot in both worlds, right? That's an exciting experience in all of this energy. But really trusting and honoring, giving yourself what you need. Some of us really need to pull inward and be really internal, because there is a process happening that is requiring our energetics to be internal at the moment. Some of us, it's that we're really called to lean more into like the Capricorn energy of the full moon. We're actually really called to maneuver some of this mystical energy out into the world in tangible ways. Maybe we're called to maneuver some of this mystical energy into our sexual relationships for sacred sexuality. Maybe we're called to maneuver some of this mystical energy, which is also extraordinarily creative, into our creations, right? Whatever our art is, I think we are all always creating. We are all always doing art. It's just our form of art is very different in our lives. So we may also be called to, let's just say, channel this high voltage mystical energy out into the world right now. But really feeling what is true for you. That might be hard too with all this Neptune energy as well. And it might change a lot. It might change like moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. Okay, so I know that I've talked about a lot of things being really dissolving, really like nebulous, really intangible. However, possibly being called to channel this out into the world. Beautifully, all of these Mercury, Sun, and Venus, right? They will all sextile Mars. This also helps. So remember I was saying the full moon being in Capricorn helps to ground things in, helps us to keep our feet on the ground, helps us to stay plugged into reality, helps us to manifest, helps us to bring high voltage mystical wisdom into the world, right? Helps us to bring it into our lives, helps us also to translate the deep inner transformation that's happening, translate it out into our relationships, into our careers, into our homes, into daily life. It's beautiful. This sextile to Mars will also help. Now, this doesn't start to happen until after the full moon, right? So after the full moon, couple days after, just know now Mercury, Venus, the Sun will all sextile Mars. Mars is action forward. Mars will help us to bring it into the world, help us to ground it in. And so just know, right? It's a power in the knowing, like, wow, this is a deep mystical time. This is a time of deep transformation, like dissolving transformation, then Pluto transformation, then feminine, right? Dark goddesses transformation. I mean, it's intense. With very personal parts of self, Venus, Sun, and Mercury. Like, it's just, what a lineup we have right now. I mean, what a beautiful, potent, powerful lineup we have right now. And then after solstice, after this full moon, because remember, this full moon is still conjunct like it's squaring Neptune, right? It's mysticism on crack, right? Neptune then still also going retrograde. So just know this could go on much longer than just this full moon because of Neptune being in the anorectic degree of Pisces. That's his home sign. So it's the mystic in the sign of the mystic at the final degree. That's the karmic degree. The degree associated with source energy, the degree associated with creation energy. Really powerful for spiritual practices, spiritual awakenings, spiritual teachings. Really, really powerful. Those of us called to work with creation energy. I know some of you are working with creation energy. We've been working with it in ReWilding in different places in different ways, right? So those of us who are working in that, it's a time to really open up to being taught by the gods right now. Being taught by, like, let creation teach you. I know some of you were in Dragon Mystery School, where we started to tap into creation energy, right? It took us there. Let the dragon be the teacher, right? And you don't have to necessarily have those exact words for that or those links and linear. I know that many of us are connecting into this in very different ways, but what is it that can help be your teacher? Sometimes there's an intermediary archetypal energy like Merlin. I know some of you are working with Merlin in archetype immersion, right? In ReWilding, we'll also hopefully get that workshop out at some point, available to anyone, but it's not yet. And so maybe there's an intermediary that you're tapping into, like Dragon is an intermediary to creation. Merlin is another intermediary. And there's many, many, many more, right? Or maybe you're able to just let creation teach you. Like you let that high voltage mystical energy teach you, let it be your teacher. Again, not all of us are going to be called to this during this moment in time, but it is a really powerful time to be accessing teachings directly from the source. And some of us, we access those teachings directly from the source, and then we bring it in and we share those teachings. For some of us, we access it directly from the source and therefore ourselves personally. Like, here's how you now work with creation energy. Like, I know for me, there's a whole shift in how to work with creation energy. There's a whole shift from it being a little bit more surrendered over to a little more active. Like a shift from being passive, like very humble. It's still humble. It's actively humble though, or humble in action through humbleness. I don't even know. If you're interested in that, if that's kind of resonating with you, drop a comment below. I'm thinking about putting something together for that, but would love to hear if that interests enough people, and I'll put it together. I know some of you were on Instagram and saw the week ahead astrology video. You were like, yes. Some of you here watched it on YouTube. But if you're called to work, to create via being more active. So feel into those words. It's like you're called to create or manifest, to be more actively involved in manifesting, in working with creation energy versus it being a more passive way. Wow, that will be an interesting conversation if we do end up doing something on that. But again, just drop a note below, and if there's enough interest, we'll go there. Okay, let me come back to this moment in time and what else I can share. So again, not all of us will be called to and to make the space, right? It's really, we have to make the space. We have to make the space to practice, to listen, to be taught. We have to open ourselves up to going into the states of consciousness that are required to get the lessons, right? So creating the space in our lives, the practices in our lives, how do we support ourselves to be in those states? Also, how do we support ourselves to still take care of our lives, our physical bodies? Because this is a time where we could shift to that and get really ungrounded. So this is a warning, right? We are all responsible for our choices. So make good choices. Make really good choices. Maybe you do choices from two different parts of self, because I know the mystic in me could literally just stop eating for a week, right? The mystic in me is like, I don't really care. Like, I don't need to eat. I don't need to like physical things. I don't need to take care of what you want me to pay bills and all this stuff. That's the warning sign for us all. That's the warning sign. So make really good choices. Maybe you kind of hold two different spaces for yourself. You feel if this works for you, but try, you might have a different practice around this, but like you tap into the mystic in you. Okay, what does the mystic in me need? And then you tap into like the grounded, earthy, I am in this body. This is my life, right? And what needs to happen today? You need to eat. You need to sleep. It's powerful. It's a powerful, powerful portal. It's very powerful. Let's work with it very consciously. Let's be very conscious that it is a powerful portal. And let's make really good choices. Really, really good choices from, this is interesting. There's a little bit of a personal share from our center point, like from our wizened self, from our center point. I literally feel so much transformation going on in myself that I feel like my center point is shifted. I'll share this part too, just because a friend of mine who walks this path very intimately and deeply, she could relate to this too. She's like, wow, I heard the same words. So maybe you've heard something similar, or maybe this like illuminates something for you. My sense, right, is like it's such deep transformation happening that my center point is shifting, or how I landed in my center point or moved from my center point. I have to come at that from a different way. This is almost like the teachings, and so it's really being so open to learn and to be so curious about self, right? This is a moment in time of know thyself, but it's like know thy new self. That if there's anything I could share about this moment in time, it's like being so curious, being a student of self, but it's a student of like know thy new self, because my old self, it's like dissolved. My old self is dissolving, right? And so it's being so open, not pushing, being so open, doing what I need to do to feel safe. Some of us won't feel safe in this. Some of us, this will trigger safety, security stuff. So doing what you need to do to feel safe. I have a really funny story about that. Maybe I'll share it with you. It has to do with a bat. I'll tell you that if I remember. We'll see. But it's about doing what it is to support that aspect of us that needs to feel safe, that needs to feel secure. So just knowing that can be really kicked up, can be really powerful. And then doing what you need to do to feel safe, right? To feel safe, because a lot of times we will tap into not feeling safe and not feeling secure when deep change is happening. Deep transformation is happening. It can very much spark feelings of unstable, like it's unstable. The ground that you're standing on is unstable. The insides, your ground of being is unstable because it's deep transformation. Because it's deep transformation. I'll give you the bat story really quick. So I'm attempting to share this like deep transformation. What's happening inside of myself. I'm attempting to share this with my partner, right? And I'm telling him, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just like kicking up this like safety, security stuff. Like I woke up to a dream, of like, wow, what if someone breaks into my house and I don't even have a bat. I have nothing, right? And I know that this is my unconscious in my dream, right? I know it's my unconscious in my dream kicking up like, whoa, like there's so much change happening that like there's this like instability, right? Of like all the pieces have dispersed across the universe, and that's perfect and it's appropriate and it's the greatest thing and the greatest state that I can be in. It's like allowing for the transformation to happen, right? And then the pieces will come back together in like the next greatest form. It's like the next greatest becoming, the next greatest version of self, right? But in the like scattered across the world, you're just like, ah. So what does he do? Bless his heart. This is like the best thing ever. He gives me a baseball bat. He gives me a baseball bat to put next to my bed. And so silly things like that, right? Like maybe you sleep with a nightlight on. I don't know. Maybe you put a baseball bat next to your bed. Maybe it's not about sleeping. Maybe it's you just like have a friend hang out with you if you're in some real deep transformation. I say a lot about this because these Neptune conjunctions, this full moon, this solstice right now, it can make us irrationally fearful, right? So just make wise choices, right? Really be real. If we can be really real with ourselves, lean into our supports. And I'm not saying you're going to have a tough time with this, right? Like you may have the wiring where you're just like skate right on through this, right? You're just like, I'm at home, like I love swimming in this. So just really honoring our own unique experiences and what this could be like for us. Okay, I feel like there was something else that I wanted to talk about. I think this might be it. Nah, there's something else. There's got to be something else here. I'll do a summary. I think that's how we'll go into this. I'll do a summary. So let the dissolving happen, right? This whole week, regardless of kind of when you're watching this whole week through the solstice Thursday, the full moon Friday, let the dissolving happen, right? Like let it happen. It's like you're dissolving from one level of vibratory being to another level of vibratory being. Like You're moving to your next greatest becoming. And if we can hold our intention on that, that can be really powerful and really helpful. Giving ourselves space, giving ourselves what we need to feel safe, giving ourselves tapping in and asking, what do I need? What do I need? For real, this is like a spiritual retreat. This week is a spiritual retreat. How do you want to be on retreat? Do you want to be on retreat very much plugged into the world? Do you want to be on retreat more in your inner world? Is your retreat more about channeling the mysticism or the creativity out into the world? Right? What feels most true for you? Then come the weekend, right? Post full moon, we get this beautiful square to the nodes, right? Where Mercury squares the nodes, Venus squares the nodes, the sun squares the nodes of fate. This is future visions. This is path forward. So now it's like breadcrumbs on that true north path. So you might this whole process be getting insights, right? But they'll maybe become more tangible, more comprehensible, more realistic, right? More clear. Clarity's coming. It's coming. And so that will really help when everything kind of starts to like line up with, it's your true north path, right? Your north node is where you're headed in this life, highest expression of self, your soul's journey, right? Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss. What is it that I'm here for? What is my greatest becoming? What is my unique genius, right? And that's what starts to happen. We also get some more Saturnian energy, right? So we'll get some Saturnian. Saturn will go retrograde. That amplifies Saturn's groundedness. Remember those Mars, that, what is it? I think it's Mars. Give me a second. I'll find it for us. Mars sextiling, right? So Mars sextiling Mercury, Venus, the sun. And the reason I keep pointing those out is because they're so powerful and they're so potent. They're so personal. Like they're personal aspects of self. And that's just kind of what's loud right now. I did want to talk about Shiva, didn't I? I'll talk a little tiny bit about Shiva just because I promised I would say why I really like the fact that Shiva is conjunct the dark goddesses or Black Moon Lilith. Let me see. I can so feel. I think I'm recording this on the day that Neptune is square to Mercury, and my brain is just like, come on, Sabrina, find some words here. Let's like make it tangible. So apologies if there's a little bit of like a little more. I know that I always do this. I don't know, mind scramble. That's what some people call it, who've been in ReWilding for a long time. They're like, dude, you just scramble my mind. And I know it's like the greatest gift, and it still just drives me crazy. It's hopefully taking us to deeper levels of truth that are sometimes beyond the mind. And this moment in time is very much what that's about. Okay, I feel like we're just kind of like fizzing out here at the end. Let me just touch on this Shiva Black Moon. Also Parvati, who I can mention really quickly. She is conjunct Neptune. Why am I mentioning Parvati while talking about Black Moon and Shiva? So Black Moon, the fullness of the feminine. Shiva, the fullness of the masculine. Counterpart to every aspect of the feminine. Capacity, consciousness that can hold the fullness of life. We could just look at the feminine as the fullness of life. Every single expression of life, every expression of emotion, every expression of every weather pattern, every expression of life. Shiva has the capacity to stay conscious to stay present to create a container for, and not only to do that, but to genuinely love. To genuinely love. How beautiful is that? To genuinely love every single aspect of life. To genuinely love every single aspect of the feminine, to genuinely love every single aspect of form. Genuinely. Isn't that beautiful? Parvati represents sacred union, sacred marriage. Parvati amplifies this capacity of Shiva, which is high level expression of, we could say masculine, high level expression of consciousness, right? In relation to sacred union, in relation to form, in relation to the world. So this is almost like in a funny way. It's kind of like almost like opposite of Buddhist teachings, right? Where Buddhist teachings are like transcend the form. That's great. It's beautiful. Transcend the form. But it's like opposite of that. It's like, no, you don't need to transcend the form. That's an expression of masculine consciousness. That's an expression. But I could be totally present to form and be at complete peace with it. Not only at complete peace with it, but could feel totally on purpose and totally fulfilled, being totally present to the form, being totally present to the body, being totally present to this world, being totally present to whatever feminine expression is happening in this moment. And feminine expression is just the form, right? And so it's kind of like calling Shiva down. This is another little part of some of the energy you could work with, or the myth that you could work with, is it's like the feminine in her radiance, in her dance of life, right? In her seductiveness, calls consciousness down, right? Calls consciousness down from just like, and I'm in the void. And it's like, let me call consciousness to here. So imagine this. We're going to go for it. Ready for it? Imagine the world form, the world starting to kick up a storm in any sort of fashion, however it wants to call consciousness down. Because sometimes the feminine will like throw a fit to call consciousness down. She'll create chaos to call consciousness down, right? Sometimes she will do it through like sexual allurement to call consciousness down. Sometimes she'll do it through radiance, through beauty to call consciousness down. But to me, this is a moment in time where the feminine is going to call consciousness down. I don't know how she's going to call consciousness down. I don't know how you're going to call consciousness down, right? That's also all up to us individually too. How are we going to call consciousness down? It's a moment in time where we're calling consciousness in. The whole world is calling consciousness in. The collective is calling consciousness in. It's calling consciousness in. Isn't that beautiful? How is it going to call consciousness in? I don't know. When we got the dark goddesses dancing, man, oh man, they have a freedom and they do not care what it looks like. They do not care what it looks like to call consciousness in, right? We'll see. All right. I'm always in the comments first couple days after a video comes out. Would love to see you all there. If you're not in the Facebook group, I would love to see you in the Facebook group. If you're interested in doing an in-person retreat, I think there's maybe 5 spots left in Ibiza, happening in November of this year. It's our only in-person event this year. So if that's singing to you, I would maybe jump on that. I don't even know if there will be spots by the time the full moon happens. We'll see. But we'll put a link down below if you're interested in that. Membership. So if you want to work in this energy very specifically, come join me in ReWilding membership. It's where I don't just talk about what's going on. We journey into these places. We journey into these parts of self, always in alignment with the astrology, always in alignment with the energy of the moment, in alignment with our highest path forward, your highest path forward, your evolutionary path forward. And that happens every month in ReWilding. There's probably like 6, 7, 8 workshops, 8 hours of experiential journeys taking you into these places of self. And that can be really supportive during this moment in time also. Dragon sessions. Let's open that up. It's normally not open. We'll open that up during this full moon, during this solstice, for a super short window period of time. It's crazy supportive to mystical energy. Really supportive to kind of this transformative process, really supportive to working with creation energy. Remember I spoke about dragon, and I said dragon can be the intermediary between you and source, between you and creation energy, and it's a really good point. It also opens us up to our unique genius and our self-mastery, and I think of all the programs that we have in ReWilding, that one is the most supportive to this moment in time. So we'll open that up down below. Just look for dragon sessions, maybe just a couple days after the full moon, we'll leave it open for. So if you want some supports, there's membership, that's like $60. Dragon sessions, I'm not really sure what that price point is, maybe $200. And then Ibiza, that's a 5-person advanced training, in 5-day advanced training in person in Ibiza. That's a couple thousand. So you'll see links for those 3 things below. All right. Huge love to you all. happy solstice and happy new moon. I love you all so much.